Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe with episode number 22. Yeah, that's right, 22. Born Again drops April the 29th, 1994, directed by one Jerrold Freedman. Known for 6 episodes of Night Gallery, which aired from 69 to 73, if you remember that one. Born Again. Guesting, nobody here really stands out in terms of past work, at least that I saw, but the Bishops, mom and daughter, Judy Bishop, the mom, Day Young plays her, and Andrea Libman as Michelle Bishop, the daughter, the really the sort of pseudo-antagonist, but not really, of this show. Born Again. A few things about this episode. One, okay, it's not my go-to favorite of season 1. It's a little bit of a step down, and I'm not really sure why. It's interesting, David Duchovny stated in the IMDb trivia section that David Duchovny made it known how much he hated this episode, and I'm not sure why. I wish they would say why. If you're going to make that kind of a statement, it'd be interesting to know why he disliked it. I mean, you can kind of make your own sort of inferences in terms of the coherency of the episode, the writing, and just how it comes across, the story. I think maybe, I don't know, I'm just guessing. Maybe it has something to do with it feels like it just falls short a little bit of the standard that has already been set, the bar that has already been set high for these episodes. And this one just seems to fall a little short. It really deals with sort of, I said it's a broken family. Mom and dad have divorced. It's presumed or assumed a lot of it has to do with the nature of the little girl, perhaps. She is sort of like your bad seed, but it's not because of anything that she did. She seems to be, we find out, haunted by a poltergeist type entity that we'll eventually find out is a slain police officer, a detective, that was, well, his death is somewhat of an accident, but the intention was to keep him quiet, because apparently there is a robbery, larceny, yeah, robbery, whatever. And these basically group guys basically steal this money, or they plan on keeping this money, which they shouldn't have, and they agree that they're going to wait it out for like 10 years, and good luck with that, right? And all of a sudden, one by one, the group starts facing horrific accidents, like in the beginning. So in the very beginning of the episode, we're introduced to Michelle Bishop, the little girl who just seemingly is just sitting on the side of a street, city street, which, by the way, the locale for this episode is Buffalo, New York, even though it is shot in Canada. And I went and looked in IMDb, and all of the filming locations are in Canada. But I'm going to say I'm from the Buffalo area. I grew up in the Buffalo area, Niagara, just north of Niagara Falls. I'm very, very familiar with places like Kenmore, New York, which is a place that is a location in the episode. I think that's the home of the Bishops. I'm pretty sure. And so it's interesting, the locale for this, and I kind of lost my train of thought, but since I'm there, I might as well hit it. They do an okay job with it. When you're in I know where I was. Okay, so like when you're in a police station, right? We'll just, like, when you meet the girl Bishop, I'm sorry, I just tired today. Police detective, she finds the girl. I think she has checked out to go home. She sees the girl sitting just by herself. She takes her up into the police department, and gets her to sit with another detective who happens to is known for doing or working really well with children. And while she leaves the girl in there alone with this detective, suddenly there's this loud, sort of thunderous breaking of glass and everything. And she comes in, of course, this is before the title sequence, right? The window's like totally blown out. The detective's gone through the window and down on top of a car, dead. And assumably no explanation other than it had to have been the girl, but how? She's like 60 pounds and this detective's like 260 pounds. And so the detective who had led the girl in there to begin with reaches out to Mulder and Scully by virtue of her having heard of the Toombs case, which we just dealt with. So that's kind of interesting, right? And so, so Fox, and Scully show up, and they start the whole. Now the detective has heard doubts about the girl, although she can't explain how a girl like this could possibly do something this horrific in terms of or just the physical strength to do something like this. But Mulder already has his suspicions that maybe this is telekinetic. This is something along those lines, in which Scully is pretty much a skeptic on this until she's brought around, right? And so, but the locale, so when you're in the police station, it's sort of awkward in a way because, there's a pennant up on the bulletin board that's a Buffalo Bills pennant. There's a Buffalo Bills hat seemingly just sitting on top of a filing cabinet, I think. And it just seems like things are placed a little awkwardly. Like, this isn't how you would normally just see things like this. But I'll say what worked well is like when you're walking into the police department, of course, the name of the city, of course, is etched into the concrete. But then you see a city bus later on, and there's a Buffalo Bill sign on the city bus. These are things that you would see, right? A lot. And then, when you're in Kenmore or, for the story's sake, in Kenmore, New York, I'll say the neighborhood immediately brought memories to me in terms of just how the houses look and whatnot. So I'd say, they did a pretty good job of making you feel like it was Buffalo. It was okay. The story, though, as Mulder and Scully dig deeper into the story, and we find out that slowly but surely the conspiracy that involves this group of guys and what may have happened, and really just surrounds an officer who, as I said earlier, was killed. And apparently he was, it was just assumed he fell victim to the mob. It was a hit, a professional hit. But in which case, where his arm was chainsawed off and his eye gouged out. But later we find out that his death was actually something else. And so perhaps the mutilations come after the fact to lead people off, right? And so, it's a story of where his poltergeist, at the time of his death, Michelle Bishop is conceived, and apparently the two sort of things collide in a sense that when she's old enough where he can somewhat control her, he will start exacting out his vengeance on those who have betrayed him. And one of the guys actually marries his wife, which I'm sure probably feels his fury as well, although he admits at some point towards the end of the episode, he admits that that was not his motive. He didn't really want anything to do with it. But when apparently their scare tactics go wrong and he ultimately ends up dead, he feels sort of like a responsibility to sort of step into the fold and take over by taking care of his wife. So there's a lot of weird, sort of interesting things going on. And then, of course, there's this whole thing between Mulder and the psychologist who's been caring after the girl because she is seen to have some serious deviant psychological issues. Even though she has never been caught killing anyone, she has been seen in the places where these people are ending up dead. And apparently they can't keep a babysitter or a nanny in the house. And so there is a lot of deviant really creepy behavior that's sort of left by the wayside. We don't really know what she's done. One thing we know is that she's been, every time the psychiatrist gives her sort of like a baby doll or whatever, she always does the same thing, and that is rip the one arm off and gouge out the one eye. And of course, this is the foreshadowing of what has actually, supposedly what happened to the one detective, but we find out his death came by other means. And so really this is just a vengeance tale of a poltergeist looking to square things up. And it all has its resolution, you know, towards the very end, of course, where the Michelle Bishop is in the one detective's house, looking to square things up with him. He's the last one alive, I believe. One of the guys is actually dragged. He steps off the city bus that I mentioned earlier. His scarf gets suddenly, like supernaturally, yanked up in through the doors close, and then the poltergeist seemingly takes over the bus. So the driver, even though he can see the guy in his mirror, which is weird now that I think about it, because I think he's driving, he's looking in that mirror, which technically should have been the other mirror. I don't know if that was a mistake or not. It could have been a mistake. But anyways, he sees the guy being dragged along. There's nothing he can do to stop the bus. The poltergeist has seemingly taken over the bus until the guy's dead. And that was kind of a crazy death scene. My son was telling me, Sam was telling me that he had actually read or seen in the news true story about a girl whose backpack got caught in the doors of a bus, and they had no idea, and it just started off. I think she died. So these accidents, these horrific things do happen, and that's insane. How no one in the bus, I guess if they were at the end of the route and there wasn't any kids, I don't know how that happens. But anyways, it was, I don't know, it was an okay episode. I'm trying to, like, if there's anything else. I don't know if there's anything else of real interest. This episode, apparently Gillian Anderson is becoming quite more and more obviously pregnant. Although I didn't really take time to, I saw that in the trivia, but I didn't take time to actually really look at that. And so that's interesting. But the one thing that I do find most intriguing is Duchovny's admission of not liking this episode. And I just wonder if he felt like just things, I don't know. It just feels like it falls short a little bit of other episodes. Like with a little tweaking in the writing and a little better execution, maybe this could have been a much better episode. But I'm not going to complain much. Well, it's the X-Files, and not every episode is going to be like reaching this high bar of excellence. You're going to have a few that are going to take a step or two down from time to time, and that can be forgiven in light of just how awesome the entire series from season 1 to 11, the films really are. And so we're gonna probably have a step or two down occasionally, and this may be one of them. Although I do appreciate setting it in Buffalo, New York. This does harken back to my childhood and what I know, and I mean, it worked well enough. Although I did, seeing the Bill stuff in the police department, it just seemed, I don't know. Even though you would expect to see it, it seemed a little tacky or awkward how it was placed. The thing that was most legitimate to me was seeing the sign on the bus, because you'd see that kind of stuff, right? So anyways, Born Again. Average story. We've seen this done a million times. It would have been, I don't know, it would have been a little bit more interesting had we maybe got more of the bad seed, and then really found out towards the end of what was really, I don't know. It's interesting. But anyways, we just got 2 episodes left, and we're done with season 1. Go figure. Roland, I think, is next. And and then we wrap up season finale, the Erlenmeyer Flask. And then maybe take a break a week. I don't know. We may skip 1 week and then boom right in. We'll see. But 2 more, man, and season 1 is already under our belt. So for those of you who have been following me along, and even the subs that have come along as a result, the comments, just the views, I appreciate the support so much. season 1 is almost beyond us, and we still got 10 more seasons to get through. It's got to take a while, but I'm enjoying it. I'm having a blast, and this episode is just one more in that notch. It's not a bad episode, just maybe could be tightened up a little bit, I guess, here or there. But anyways, we always end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream.
We might be useful to you.